When playing Victory by Any Means, each node on the campaign map is a different star system. These star systems contain resources that you can exploit once the system is colonized to turn into economic points that you can then use to spend to build units, expand your empire further, invest in technology, and so on. So what is a star system within Victory by Any Means? If we look in the star system rules, we're going to see that each star system has a name, a unique name associated with it that can either be the name of the primary star or the most important planet. It has a star type, which we have there that is used during system generation to determine its other features. And there's several different star types. There's blue stars, white stars, yellow stars, orange stars, red stars, dwarf stars. So pretty much everything that you're used to. The blue stars kind of combines all the different OBA classifications into a single group, where the dwarf stars combine the white dwarfs and the different brown dwarfs together just for convenience sake. So our star type basically determines that, okay, if it's a yellow star, it's going to have a better chance of having a high value system as opposed to a blue star. Whereas the blue stars have a chance of having more jump lanes. In addition to the star type, we have planet types. These are the different classifications that determine the base statistics and attributes for the system. Starting from worst, we have extreme, which covers everything from gas giants to hothouse planets like Venus, and everything in between. Just basically low-value worlds are considered extreme. Next up are dead planets. These are worlds that are rocky terrestrial worlds that can be colonized, but are like Mercury, that there's usually something wrong. They have no atmospheres and are just generally not very good for habitation. Then we have barren planets like Mars, which are a little bit better. They have a few more resources, and the resources are easier to extract, but they're still not very hospitable, and you probably aren't going to want to live on them unless you have to. Adaptable planets are the next step up. They are kind of like the equivalent of a terraformed Mars. They're planets that are kind of post-garden worlds, that they used to be good, or they may be getting towards being garden worlds, but they just have something that makes them fall a little short. So they have lots of carrying capacity, but not a lot of resources. Next up, we have garden worlds. They're Earth-like planets, and they're the worlds that you're really going to want to find if you can, but the chances of finding them are also very low, and especially in systems that have a bad star type. If the star type has a penalty to the system type and system importance, that's going to give you a problem. Finally are the homeworld systems. These are the planets that alien civilizations have risen from and have bonuses to all their stats. So in other words, they're going to have more resources, they're going to have more room for growth, and they're just going to be better overall. But they're also not something that you're going to encounter just running around in the galaxy. Now, all star systems have a few different system attributes. The first is carrying capacity. This is the amount of population and other attributes the system can support. So the higher the carrying capacity, the more population you can have. We then have raw. Raw is a measure of the resources, availability, and wealth of a system. This is the stat that is being converted into economic points by your population. Population is a measure of the size of the colony in a system, and it's not so much direct population size as it is the amount of economic infrastructure. So it's not a direct one-to-one. It's not like, oh, I have 9 population, it means I have 9 billion people living there. No, it just means that it's more built up than a system that has 4 or 5 population. And it's extracting raw more efficiently, and it's bringing in more resources for you. Morale is a measure of how much a system supports your empire. The lower the morale, the more problems you have. And morale relative to population will determine whether or not a system goes into opposition. And once morale drops to 0, you have the chance that the system will actually go into rebellion. Intel is a measure of the amount of intelligence gathering assets in a system, and you use that to perform covert actions. Fortifications represent different planetary defenses in the system, like your orbital satellites, minefields, planetary gun batteries, things of that nature that could prevent a system from being invaded by enemy troops. Basically, the planetary defense grid is going to open fire on any assault shuttles that try landing on this planet's surface and kill everybody before they can ever make landfall. So you're going to have to whittle down the fortifications before you do much else. In addition to the system attributes, systems can also have system traits. These represent some sort of existing infrastructure in the system or some other special quality of the system that will give it a bonus to its system attributes and give you a little bit of flavor as far as what the colony can do. So you have things like ancient ruins, which indicate that there's some sort of old precursor ruins in the system. You have automated defenses, which means that the old empire left behind some automated fortifications in the system from the old Harbinger War. You have fair biosphere, which means that this system is a little bit more inhabitable than most, and it may represent some old pre-war terraforming efforts, or there may be a really nice habitable moon in orbit, especially like if you find an extreme system with fair biosphere. It means there's probably a nice moon in orbit of it that gives you a little bit more space to live. The lost colony represents that there's an old colony left behind from the Harbinger War that gives you a good population boost if you colonize a system. Mineral-rich systems means that there's more resources there to exploit. Scattered survivors means that while there's still survivors, it's not as good as a lost colony, but there's still somebody living in the system that were cut off after the Great Hyperspace Collapse. So it gives you a little bit of a boost when you first colonize a system. Spy satellites means that the old empire built some satellites in the system to monitor Harbinger fleet activity, and they're still left over, and you can take advantage of them to give you a quick intel bonus. And then strategic resources, which means that there's something really valuable in the system, some sort of a rare resource that gives you a significant raw advantage. Now, all systems are assigned a system importance based off their planet type. There's unimportant systems, minor systems, and major systems. Extreme and dead systems are unimportant. Barren and adaptable are minor, and garden and homeworlds are major. So that's a quick overview of what the star systems represent on the map, and thanks for joining us.